Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 265 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to finish up with concrete by making refined concrete and reinforced concrete bricks. Enjoy! And now we need to make the reinforced bricks. The regular bricks are here. We can do the concrete wherever it makes sense, like we can do it up here or something. But because the regular concrete is right here, we may want to keep it in place just because I don't want to move this big warehouse with 100,000 concrete in it. Which, by the way, if we're changing this to not be the thing we pave our base with, we can reduce that to like 10,000. Let's get rid of that then. Let's say the ultimate goal is refined concrete. And how much do we want? Well, it depends on how much we can make. Let's just say 30 for now. I don't think that's going to work because of this number. But we can't use productivity modules. But we can use speeds to really help. The regular concrete is going to come from the liquid concrete. And that can use productivity modules. Hey, look at that. Stacking the productivities. To really increase efficiency here. Well, if we did that, it would require 300. And that makes 180. So that won't work. But if we do 15 a second, which is 30 a second for here, that would work. So the setup is kind of like this, just we need to kind of modify it a bit. We need to delete most of it. Does each one of these have a full stack in it? Probably. That's why they're running so hard like that. Can't see what's going on. Oh, they're desperately trying to park. No, the inventory's full. Let's get rid of that one so they're not all waiting in line for it. Let's make this the refined concrete, which all get the speed modules, and they just need water as an input. So what kind of numbers? Fairly fast. Well, the resource that's actually going to be in this warehouse is going to change, which is a little annoying. So perhaps it's just going to get moved around anyway. But oh well. Let's say the input is up here. And this thing actually has a lot of inputs on it. Enough where we're probably just going to kind of rebuild this anyway. Where we can handle the concrete in and out right here. And it will need to have the inputs for those iron rods and the steel. So let's do distance changing. Probably 2 of them. There we go, something like this, but it needs to move over a bit. Teleporter's in the way. Stone processing. And then we need to have 15 of these. That being 8 means there's our 15. This needs to be supplied with the steel. So we'll use productivities. And the iron rods, which also get 2 stages of productivities. So 1 steel goes in and 1 goes out. Might as well replace this radar. But that gets the input of those resources. Then we gotta make it from the regular concrete. Although I'm not sure where I got the 16 from. Because we only needed 2. So, shrug, I'm not sure how I did that. But we'll just pick the whole thing up. So the refined concrete will come down. So we have the resources there, and they come from probably up above somewhere. Well, now that we have this thing's new shape, we'll pick it up. Get it in there. Well, one thing we can do to get rid of all of this is to kind of send it through a loop. So we'll just disconnect this for now. But we'll have an output here and say the output can only be regular concrete. And we'll have an input putting it in if specifically refined concrete is less than 100,000. So actually, for now, that means we can just hook this one up directly. I think we have iron and steel on this network already because we kind of use them for things. Steel sheet coil and iron sheet coil, so yes. Well, let's send it in there, I suppose. Iron sheet coil. Steel sheet coil. 1. Looks like we're going to have to just kind of go over these pipes for a while. But eventually it'll connect. Alright, our iron and steel got here. So we can test it out. Let's switch this over to refined concrete. So the number's going to look kind of weird for a while. And actually, we can just dump this in here and set this filter to be refined concrete now. The reason why there's a separate storage chest here is because of not having access to buffer chests. So it that just keeps it from getting weird. Okay. That's hooked up. Now we just need a little bit of water from somewhere. We might as well take this same hookup. It needs to balance out for a second. I guess I made 16 of them because I was looking at the total output as 15, and then I thought, oh, that's 16 machines, and I wasn't looking at the actual number here. But it's certainly using every bit of this belt. And this number is coming up. I don't know if I want to make requests for it for now, but it's slowly going to convert all of this regular concrete into refined concrete. But I guess we could do a storage chest here for refined concrete. Let it fill up all the way. Probably connect that between the two of them so we get an accurate number of what's in there. So, refined concrete, is it any good? Well, we could place a bunch of it down and see. And when you place it, you get rid of some of the weeds there. So is it any faster to walk on? Yeah, you can kind of see it change a tiny bit. It doesn't really matter too much for our character that mainly flies everywhere. But hey, it probably looks a little cleaner. Slightly less of the weeds there, so looking good. Oh yeah, we'll definitely need this for the bots to return the stuff. I probably want to set this actually to be a filter inserter, so we're not picking up the wrong types. So before, we would have to run around the factory placing all this stuff. We can make this a little easier on ourselves by getting rid of everything but the tiles. So now we have something that we could very carefully click down if we want to. It kind of lags the computer a little bit. Bots aren't the best when it comes to building these. Let's see, do they not have somewhere to send it? I guess not. Oh yes, this needs to be regular concrete. There we go. And we're probably going to want way more parking spaces than that, because of the sheer number of robots that are going to be coming through here. Like, I'm guessing it's actually going to be legit insane. So let's go kinda nuts. To give them lots of places to go. And then they will just carefully place everything. And we can take our blueprint. It doesn't quite place properly here. But we can also hold shift and place it. Just sort of drag it around. It's a little hard to tell when looking at the map where this is, but it's also not that hard to just hold shift and brrr. The poor computer, it is very sad. But we do that. And we can kinda slowly add concrete to the base without having to do it manually. And there is that mod, concrete, to put the concrete down automatically, but it's kind of laggy, so I'm choosing not to use it here. Well, this is going to run and consume our concrete, and our concrete level will go down as this runs because 2 concrete go into a refined concrete. Nonetheless, there's the other step of this process that involves making the concrete. So we need to do that, and that much is a fairly simple process. We'll have to figure out where to put it. We do have an old mine here. This might get in the way of. I guess we can just kind of place it up here for now. It doesn't need the inputs. And the recipe is for concrete too. So we simply need to make a ton of these. And would this fit in this space? Yep. Depends on how many of them we had in here. Looks like we're probably just going to run straight over that mine. But how many? 18. So we do another one to get our 36. And one more in there. So we cut it out, and does it fit? Oh, just barely. Let's see, what is this mine even being used for? Bobmodium. Do we have another Bobmodium mine? We do. We have a fresh one up here. So there isn't a lot of reason to be using this one anymore. I think we're just using it because it's unlimited. But we really don't need it anymore. We have one of these old warehouses here. And I'm kind of intending on removing that mod just because I don't use that style. I use the AI industry style. Now this can be placed with a little more freedom. Ultimately, the output will go down there. Well, the good news is, since we've been working on this, the evolution's gone down. I think it was originally at around 59, and now it's at 56. Of course, the biters are still attacking, but we're starting to counteract the damage to the evolution. And the bots are nearby, which allows them to fix things faster. It's weird how they're picking up those orbs, but not these ones. Doesn't make much sense. But the wall is holding. Let's see, we're not getting any iron. Is that because it's just empty? Probably. Yeah, because this isn't hooked up. Well, I can do something about that. There's actually not that much in here at all. But for now, I'll put it in there to make sure something is available. Because I want this process to be working before we start working on this bus. So let's just move it manually for now. Almost got everything hooked up here. I think this is good enough to test. So we hook all that up and see what happens. Making the concrete. Seems fine. We'll want to hook that up later and also hook it up to a drone depot down there to get delivered where it needs to. Actually, one thing we can build is the storage warehouse here. And get all those ready to go. So then we won't need this one anymore. Okay. We've got refined concrete, regular bricks. But now we need to do the reinforced bricks. And 30's not going to work because of the input, although I think it actually will because we need to put the productivity modules in here. And yep, there we go. It needs some steel with also the productivities. And that's basically it. As far as the setup, it's 2 inputs, 1 output, which is probably fairly similar to this. So let's try to reuse it. So it needs the liquid input, which it will have, the input of steel and bricks, and then an output. Although we can make this simpler. So because of that, we can tear off that entire side. The input per machine is quite small. So we don't need any of that anymore. Because we don't need as many inserters, we can have them in groups of 3. And the output per machine is also quite small. So the repeating pattern would be something like that. So 12, 24, 36, and 1 more row. We need somewhere to put it. Just right here, I guess. Now, some of these resources are already coming in. In fact, we've already got them going through here. So we might as well keep it going. So the bricks get sent in on one side. Then we need to handle some of that steel. And the steel is being used here, so we can pull off a bit of it, and that should actually clean up that belt a bit. Because we only want iron to go that way. Unfortunately, this thing's going to be slightly in the way. Oh well, we'll deal with it later. Where these can come up to here. We need a few of these machines. And I guess we'll make the output belt red. So that gets hooked up. This keeps going. This can hop over. Go to there. Get everything to where it needs to go. Let's see, are we out of steel too? Looks like it. And same solution. Just pick up a bunch of stuff out of the steel train station. And throw it in here. We've got to get that belt sent somewhere. Probably like on the left here, because there seems to be some space. Well, kind of. And if it's less than 10,000, it can turn on. Would be nice to have a sorting warehouse here. Probably also sent to like 10,000, because that's what this stuff is. I don't know how necessary it is, but that can be the reinforced concrete bricks to get them back to where they belong. Okay. Got most of this hooked up. So if we supply the concrete, it should start making our bricks. where to get the concrete from. Well, we can keep this going if it reaches. And yay, it does. So these should be our reinforced blocks. They're a little hard to see, but they're in there. So they're all going in there, skipping it, and then going into the supply depot. So we've got regular bricks, the reinforced bricks. Then we need to get our regular concrete and reinforced concrete somewhere. Let's just put like 10,000 in there for both sides. This one needs to be the reinforced. And regular needs to come from somewhere. Well, we might have to change the position of this. Let's put one right there. Get the rest of this cleaned up. For now, we can just jump over there. And the rest of it can jump over. Well, let's say we want to store 10,000. We want 100,000 in this, because that's the one that actually lays concrete down. So we got our Nixie tubes. For regular concrete. But we want to make sure that at least some of the concrete makes it in there and doesn't all get turned into refined concrete. So we're going to send a signal down here and say that regular concrete has to be equal to or greater than 10,000 before these will turn on. And because it is, they can run. And that gets us our 2 concrete types for putting roads down, and I noticed that no more warnings because the robots have completed their path. Well, I kind of just want to draw it in a straight line across the factory. And then we'll go from there. So maybe from right here. And just drag it across the entire factory. And it's a little laggy because we're placing a bunch of stuff, but... and we'll take it up to the wall for now. And there we go, we've got a bunch more. Not all of it will be placed because it's not all within the network, but most of it is. And we'll just kind of keep doing that to keep covering the base. And eventually it will all be refined concrete. Of course, our bots also help to an extent. Okay, that's the concrete. Looks like our evolution is still working its way down. Not particularly fast, but it's not going up, which is the important part. The wall is being held from the biters, which is all good. And of course there's also a couple of other small things we can do. For one, I kind of want to get a better source of mineral oil by processing fish, because right now, to make it, we're essentially either burning away glycerol or burning away fuel oil, or both. A lot of burning is happening in order to produce this oil. So if we produce the oil from fish, then we won't have to worry about any of this, it'll just be a byproduct. And the glycerol is already being made manually from here, and I'm noticing that it's going at full blast, which it shouldn't be because it's also being burnt away here. So why is that the case? Probably that just doesn't look like there's a limit. It's just running at full speed. Let's see, where was that tank? Right here. Although that was for the propane gas, the glycerol liquid never got a tank. Seems like it really ought to have one. Basically, below 16,000. Or maybe it's slightly lower than that, like... actually, probably like 4,000. So it is no longer on Okay, so it's going to stop wasting that. But yeah, we were taking care of glycerol liquid there, because to make glycerol liquid we had to kind of waste away the other stuff. But now that we have a more manual way of creating it, I don't think we need this in place anymore. We don't need to burn away the fuel oil to make the glycerol anymore. And if we manually make this lubricant, then we won't need to burn the fuel oil away to make the lubricant either. They'll still have this in case it comes down to it, because sometimes to make fuel oil we need to have space for the lubricant to go, so these still need to be there. But at least it can get nice and cleaned up in here. And that's the end of this episode. On the next one, we are going to start our planning for making oil from fish. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.